Welcome. So date night is our favorite night of the week, but it's important that you set date night up to go well. So there's a few rules that we want to talk about in our video today to help you have the most successful date night possible.
Before we get into those rules, we do want to stress the importance of date night. It is a time for fun. It is a time for romance. Every marriage needs a consistent date night. It is in the busyness of life, it is very easy to put your marriage on the back burner. We've talked in past videos and podcasts the importance of putting your marriage first. When your marriage comes first, you're going to have a healthier marriage, obviously. Your kids are going to feel more loved. Things in life feel less stressful. And date night is a very clear, objective way that you are showing to yourself and to your spouse that you are putting your marriage first. So we really encourage you to set that time aside. And I know there can be a lot of sacrifice with that. You may need a babysitter. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money when you go out, but we really encourage you to take even up to 4 hours on a date night, a minimum of 2, but preferably 4 hours. Maybe you go out to dinner, maybe you go on a walk, maybe you do something active, but that time set aside that's intentional to be together, to laugh, to have romance, to have fun, to have adventure, to connect.
Right, and so we would suggest that you go every single week on a date night. Now, there might be times where you can't get out of the house for a date night, that's fine, but you need to be intentional around that time and actually plan a successful at-home date night. So maybe that means you put the kids to bed early, and you set it up for you guys to have that. If you can't always get a babysitter and go out somewhere. Like Nathan said, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It can be on a budget, but it's setting aside that time specifically for the cultivation of romance and connection within your marriage.
So the first rule of date night is to do a date night on a regular basis and to have that schedule. Now, if you have children, especially young children, and babysitters are difficult and it is definitely can be expensive, then maybe every other week. But for sure, what happens is if you don't schedule this and prioritize it, it won't happen, or it'll be spread out and it won't be effective. If you don't do it regularly, it isn't as effective for your marriage. The second rule is that it's just the two of you on a date night. A date night does not count with your children, does not count with other couples, that it's just the two of you.
The third rule of date night is no cell phones. Obviously, if you have kids at home, this might be a little bit difficult, but you don't need to be sitting at the table or wherever you are, looking at Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media, checking the news. Put your phones away. If you have a babysitter and you're concerned about the kids going down for bedtime or whatever, check your phone at the time of bedtime, but be intentional about not answering text messages, phone calls, etc. Put it all away. Just be with the other person.
So curiosity is really important in marriage. You want to be curious about your spouse. And on date night, that is a great opportunity to talk with them about things you normally wouldn't talk about. When you were first meeting each other, you were fascinated with each other probably, especially in that infatuation stage. You want to know everything about them, and we lose that over time. And we drift into these conversations in our marriages and our lives that have to do with just a few topics, usually children or money or stuff with the house or your work. So we're actually going to encourage you, some of the rules are to avoid certain topics on your date night. Now these are hard and you won't get it perfect. We don't get this perfect. We can drift into these topics very easily. But some topics that you want to avoid talking on your date night is don't talk about your children. You don't want your children to be what your marriage is solely based around. And that can easily happen, happens all the times. That can be fixed, that can be changed. But don't just sit there and talk about your children with each other. That's not romantic, right? The second thing is don't sit there and talk about money. Money conversations are for business meetings like we talked about in a previous video. So don't talk about money. And the third thing is try not to talk about things you want to do around your house. That's another third easy topic that couples drift into. Now, if you talk about some of these things a little bit, that's okay, but talk about your likes, talk about your interests, talk about the future, talk about adventure, talk about what's going on around you, what you're observing. Connect, explore, understand, be curious about each other on your date nights.
So the final rule of date night, ask the date night question, which we discussed in a previous video. But as a review, the date night question is asking your spouse, what has it been like being married to me this week?
So we encourage you guys to do date nights, enjoy them. It's one of our favorite parts of our marriage. They're like a refuge for your marriage. So we really encourage you to sit down with your spouse, put that time aside. Both of you plan it over time. We don't want just one of you always planning it. It needs to be mutual. And work together on that. Again, something you can plan out in your business meetings, but make those date nights happen, and we hope that you enjoy them.